All right. Once again, good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you're calling in from today. We are going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar. But before we start, let's take care of a few housekeeping details. We want to make sure that your audio is working and that you can hear us, because that's a very important component to today's webinar. If you're having problems with audio, you can always go to the Event tab at the top of the WebEx screen and click the Information tab, which will give you a list of numbers that you can call in and listen to via phone. So if you're having some issues throughout the course of the webinar, you want to go ahead and do that so that you can continue to hear the information that we're discussing. We're going to ask that you please direct your attention to the short presentation. We have some really awesome information that we're going to share with you today. And we're going to ask that you hold off on asking questions during the course of today's webinar, because it's likely that your question will get answered during the course of the information that we provide. But we will also provide plenty of time at the end of today's webinar for you to ask your questions and get those answered throughout the course of the webinar. So just hold on until the end, and then once the end happens, I'll give you the signal of when you can start to ask questions. You want to make sure that those questions are asked in the Q&A window and not the chat window, as the chat window is reserved for the presenters and those of us that are on the webinar that are going to help answer questions. So use the Q&A window, and we'll get those questions answered for you at the very, very end. All right? So let's go ahead and dive into today's session. So today's session will be on leadership, innovation, and change in the built environment. An in-depth look at the Master of Science in Civil Engineering and Advanced Design and Construction Technology, an exciting new program that we're really excited to share with you today. So before we dive into what that program looks like, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the University of Southern California. So welcome to USC. This is an awesome shot of the center of campus, Boulevard Auditorium, and our Tommy Trojan statue. Boulevard, as I mentioned, is located right in the middle of campus and is kind of a staple that you'll see throughout your time at USC. It's also where our president's office is located. So the University of Southern California as a whole, we are one of the world's leading private research universities. We're also the oldest private research university in the Western United States. We're home to 21 academic schools and divisions, and of course, a very, very diverse student population. One of the things to note is that you may hear USC has a very strong, robust alumni network. As you can see, the alumni network is over 375,000 strong. It's often called the Trojan family, and it's something that our students are able to tap into as current students as well as once they graduate. Another notable fact is that we're located right in the heart of Los Angeles, all right? This is something that we definitely like to highlight because we're very close to the center of downtown LA, all right? So we're about 3 miles from downtown Los Angeles, very centrally located in the heart of the city, and our students are really able to take advantage of our unique location on a variety of different levels, both socially as well as internships and full-time job offers after they graduate, being right in the middle of a hub city like Los Angeles. Few fun facts about Los Angeles. We're home to very, very mild temperate weather. We get to receive about 292 sunny days of weather out of the year. Very global center for the arts and technology and international business. We're also home to what is being now called Silicon Beach. Many of you may know about Silicon Valley, which is located in Northern California. Well, what's started to happen here within Southern California, an area in which a lot of startups have started to kind of pop up right along the beach, and it's now being called Silicon Beach, very close to our campus, and our students are able to take advantage of that proximity, and many of them will do internships at some of these startup companies. Some of them will develop their own company that might exist in Silicon Beach as well. So very, very unique opportunities that kind of add to our location, right? Another thing to note is that we hire more engineering graduates than any other city. So being in LA as an engineer is a really, really unique thing. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the Viterbi School of Engineering and give you some background and some numbers of what we actually look like. We're home to 6,200 graduate students. So we have a very large, robust graduate population. We're number 10 ranked graduate engineering program by U.S. News and World Report. We have 310 full-time faculty and 76,000 engineering alumni worldwide. So you saw that original number, which is all of USC's alum, and this Viterbi School of Engineering gets to have about 76,000 of that total number. So lots of engineering alums that are spread out throughout the world that many of our students are able to connect with, and find mentors and job opportunities, and really kind of utilize that network, like I said before, once they're a student as well as once they graduate. So at this time, I'm going to pass the presentation over to our esteemed guest, Dr. David Gerber, who is the program director of the Advanced Design and Construction Technology program, as well as Associate Professor of Civil Engineering and Environmental Engineering and Architecture. All right, so I'm going to pass it over to David now, who's going to tell you more about this new exciting program that we have.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining in. Thank you, Kevin, for the kind introduction as well. I'm primarily here today to actually answer any questions that come up and to give you our vision for why we started this new program. So again, this is a Master's of Science in Civil Engineering with an emphasis on advanced design construction technology. So what does that really mean, and what is it really for? The vision that we're putting forward is we want to help young people become really 21st century leaders of the built environment. What do I really mean by that? The built environment is actually a very broad spectrum set of professionals. It spans from designers and architects all the way to real estate owners and operators and every type of engineer in between. However, one of the things we want to do is to prepare people to really become entrepreneurs, leaders, innovators in that entire, let's call, value chain of the AEC. And the way we want to do that is we want to actually put data and technology at the core. So as opposed to having people become very, very narrow and siloed engineers or design types, we're actually saying, well, the future is a bit different, where the lingua franca, the thing that will tie our entire process, which is a very complicated process, together, is in fact to be data-driven, and is in fact to create young professionals who understand that really deeply in order to affect change. So what we're really looking at doing here is taking the classical civil engineering curriculum and augmenting it with, and in a sense, re-emphasizing how data and technology are at its core in order to combine the importance of both the results of what we do, i.e. the physical world, as well as the process in which we develop, design, engineer, and own and operate the digital world, as well as, thirdly, the combination of the two, because we're seeing a nice collapse of the cyber-physical systems in the real world. The other thing that we do in this program is we try our best to bring in industry into the classroom. So the idea is that we're not only learning in a sense of the classical way of learning, but we're learning through participation from people who are out there engineering, designing, and innovating the technologies that are in fact in use and or being beta tested in the industry. Lastly, we do this through a capstone, and the capstone is really technology, data-centric, as well as real-world problem-focused. So that's how we are thinking about the program in its overview. Now, in any one of these programs that we have, any one of these degrees, there's some really important core faculty. And so what you see here are 4 of our really important core faculty. Dr. Burchin Gerber is the head of the iLab and the center called Sentience, and she teaches courses at the intersection of engineering, design, and technology, and she actually leads a very large research team, which actually filters into our curriculum. Dr. Lucio Soilman is actually the chair of our department and an expert in data, databases, and machine learning for the built environment, and is world-recognized, world-renowned for that. Dr. Baroque Kushnevis is actually a member of the National Academy of Engineering, as well as a member of the National Academy of Inventors, and he's a world-famous professor who actually is the first and owns the patents for 3D printing of concrete in construction. and he's another senior figure who is core faculty to this new program. And then there's myself. My background fundamentally is I'm trained and practiced as an architect, as well as led research for large global engineering firms. Now, while we are one step back, Kevin, while we are your core faculty, the program is actually structured to have core courses of 16 units, in which 3 or 4 of these faculty are part of that core. But there's a lot of flexibility beyond that core set of courses in which you can work with me to, in a sense, design your electives to support the direction you want to go in terms of your profession or in terms of further research careers. Next slide. Now, we do have a particular interest at Viterbi in creating socially minded engineers, engineers for the globe. And one of the things that I've been heavily involved in, as well as Dr. Gerber on the former slide, is generating solutions for global challenges. We take this to heart. We use design thinking, we use design strategy, agile design, and incorporate that with engineering and technology in order to solve global challenges. One of the courses that I've been involved in and will remain involved in for the time being is Innovation in Engineering Design for Global Challenges. It's now CE 486. It used to be an experimental course. And what we've really done is, similar to the way we think about this master's programs, we've brought a lot of different disciplines and a lot of different methodologies into one classroom and built teams to solve problems. And the way that they've solved problems is by really producing actual products and actual services or software that is focused on helping other people in the world through really intelligent engineering. We believe in this multidisciplinary approach because we think it actually sets people up for being the innovators and entrepreneurs in the architecture, engineering, construction, operations, i.e. the built environment, in the way that we want them to become leaders and agents of change. So the way that the curriculum is structured, to repeat myself a little bit, is there are a series of required courses. And what you'll notice in the theme of those required courses is technology or data and innovation. And then the rest of the units that are required for graduation are really electives up for discussion with me at any point in time. We will encourage some emphasis in those electives, but really it's about helping you craft a direction of travel that meets with our advanced design and construction technology curriculum. Going back up for one moment, the courses that we see as required are the Building Information Modeling and Integrated Practice course, the Data Management for Civil and Environmental Engineering course, Fundamental Concepts of Computing and Programming in Civil and Environmental Engineering, Advanced Technologies in the AEC Practices, which is my course, in which I bring in a series of experts, professionals from both practice as well as technology, and then the capstone course, which is 578, where we bring teams together to try to solve real-world problems using data and technology at its core. So I will preempt some questions here. Is work experience helpful for admissions to this program? Of course it is, but it isn't a requirement. Now, the reason why it is helpful is this is an opportunity in terms of getting a graduate degree, which allows you to rethink maybe what you've learned in your previous professional experience. However, it's not a requirement. It's encouraged, but not a requirement. In terms of the electives, yes, we encourage our students to take electives outside of the civil engineering department. We also encourage some of the courses that are inside. For example, sustainability is a really key concept and a really key skill set and deep knowledge that we all should have going out into the real world. And can we take courses outside of the Viterbi school as well? Yes. Again, I work with each student at the moment. The program is small enough that I can do that and cater to each person's needs. We have some suggestions, but we're also open for discussion. So the core difference to the third question between the MSADCT and the MCM programs are that one, we're expecting that you have a civil engineering or an engineering background and degree, because we're giving you a Master's of Science in Engineering. So that's one key distinction. The MCM program, Masters of Construction Management, doesn't have that requirement. The other key distinctions are the MCM program is extremely successful, and it's very focused on the contracting market with very tried and true skill sets like estimating and risk management and things like that. Whereas our course is looking a little bit, or our program is looking a little bit more to the future, where some of those skill sets will eventually be either automated or combined. And one of the advantages of the MSADCT is that you can take as electives many of the MCM core requirement or core electives or elective courses to augment this data-centric and innovation-centric approach that we are offering. So how does the program line up with the industry trends? One of the core reasons that we developed this master's program is to line up with the industry trends. What I see in industry, and I'm also a person that spends a good amount of time in industry, is in effect the importance of data, both collection and then analysis in order to make informed decisions, whether in the design, whether in the construction, engineering, or whether in operations. So data is really a central agent of change within the industry as a whole, and I mean that broadly. From A to E to C to O. The possible career paths that we've designed this program to meet are purposefully multidisciplinary and purposefully broad. So in our wildest dreams, we'd like to see our students go to the A&E firms, the large AECOMs, the Arups, the Burrow Happels, the SGHs or KPFFs or Thornton Tomasettis. So these are expert design engineers or expert designers. We'd like to see some of them also go to the global design firms as well, if that's the direction they want to go, where they're actually looking for engineers to join. But at the end of that, the other end of the spectrum, we'd like to see our students end up at companies like Google and Apple, where some of our students do get hired in effect because of their ability to do machine learning and understand data deeply, remembering that those tech companies are also moving into the built environment. The classic example might be to think of the Nest thermostat, which is a Google product, for example. So we have a broad spectrum from traditional siloed A&E and C, the C I haven't discussed yet, all the way to tech firms. Now, we also would expect our students to end up in some of the innovative and future-thinking construction technology firms. They may be the classic contractors, but they also might be the industrialized and modular contracting firms as well, of which there's a whole startup ecosystem. To the third question, how will I be connected to industry? What type of networking events or other career support services are available? One of the strengths of the department's existing master's programs is that it's actually a very active and well-connected program. And that really does come from the MCM history and its largesse, of which we are also building upon and dovetailing. But equally and novel to this program is, given that many of the faculty, including myself, are highly connected to industry, we actually take it upon ourselves to help place students to industry jobs and stay very well connected, both in the courses but as a general principle. So for example, in the design of the current capstone, I'm working very hard at not only bringing in the technology firms, i.e. those that provide the platforms, the cloud platforms and the software, but also trying to tie into their clients who are in effect dealing with real world design, engineering, and operations challenges. And by bringing them into the classroom, students get direct contact, direct feedback, and ideally make an impression, and hopefully a positive one, for future career opportunities. Next slide. So just to go through the simple requirements, unless Kevin wants to take over.
It's up to you. I can totally jump in here and
I will do it, and then you correct me.
Okay, awesome.
What we're really looking for are people with bachelor's degrees in engineering, architecture, and or any engineering-related discipline. Now, why that's important is that we do have an accredited master's degree program here, right? So you're actually able to become a professional engineer in theory from our degree program. So that's an important prerequisite in a sense. There's the online application fee. We do expect to see GREs, your official transcripts, resume, CV, personal statement, and letters of recommendation, which is pretty standard expectations, plus the TOEFL if you're an international student. But I will hand over to Kevin for any further questions on requirements for the time being.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Gerber, for that insightful look at the program. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we are all going to be available at the very end to answer any specific questions that you may have about the program as well as about applying to USC. So hold off on your questions and we'll provide time in just a moment to get that answered. All right. So let's go over some of the application deadlines. As you can see, we are still accepting applications for this program for the fall of 2020. All right, so you have a pretty small window, though, if you're interested in applying for this program for this fall. The final deadline for applications is July 31st, right? And there will be a very, very quick turnaround that happens on those applicants. So if you're looking to apply for the fall of 2020, you want to have your application in by July 31st, right? For the spring of 2021, the deadline is also coming up pretty quickly. It's August 31st. That's for the scholarship deadline or the priority deadline. And then the final deadline is September 15th. The way that you apply for scholarships at Viterbi is to submit your application by the scholarship deadline, all right? So if you're interested in scholarship, you want to apply by that August 31st deadline for the spring of 2021. If not, your final deadline is September 15th. For the fall of 2021, you want to have your application in by December 15th for the scholarship deadline, and the final deadline is January 15th, right? Those are upcoming deadlines that you want to make note of. All right. So, as I mentioned before, those scholarship deadlines, the way that you apply for scholarship is just to apply by the deadline, all right, that we talked about on the previous slide. A couple of those scholarships are what that actually looks like and what that means. As you can see here, we have our Dean's Master Scholarship, which is a partial tuition scholarship. And these are for new full-time on-campus master students, all right? Now, we do understand that things are a little bit weird right now with the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are able to still give these scholarships out even with the pandemic. And if students are going to be taking classes online, we understand we make allowances for that. But typically, we only give these scholarships out to students that are going to be on campus in person, and they range from $5,000 to $20,000, all right? They're open to both U.S. and international students. There's also a variety of endowed scholarships, and these are sponsored by our donors, and they're just a variety of different types, general, merit-based, as well as program-specific. So you want to find out more information about those scholarships, visit the link towards the bottom of the slide. All of you guys will receive a copy of this presentation and the slides at a later time so that you can follow the links and do your own research on some of these opportunities. All right. So next steps. If you are looking to apply for the fall of 2020, please submit your application by July 31st, all right? So we mentioned that before on those upcoming deadlines. July 31st is the next deadline that you want to pay attention to and have your application completely done by then. If you're looking for more information about the ADCT program, go to viterbigraduadmission.usc.edu and you'll be able to follow the links from there to learn more about this exciting new program. Also, be on the lookout for future virtual events through the viterbigraduadmission.usc.edu/events website, as well as some of our frequently asked questions in our FAQ. A lot of the questions that you may have regarding, how things are being dealt with COVID-19 can be answered through these websites and through these FAQs. So you definitely want to make sure that you follow those links. All right, at this point, it's your turn to ask any questions that you have in regards to applying or any specific questions for Dr. Gerber about the program. So what you want to do is go to the Q&A section of the webinar and ask your questions there. We'll take turns kind of answering those questions with some of our panelists as well as myself and Dr. Gerber. So go ahead and enter those questions now, and we'll get those answered. I also want to say, please refrain from asking the questions in the chat box. I see a few of you have asked a couple of questions there. You want to take your question and ask it in the Q&A box. That will help us answer it a little bit more effectively.
I can answer some immediately if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So John, our class is held during normal business hours. Yes and no. Very often there will be classes that are held also in evenings, in particular classes that are taught by professionals or adjunct faculty will have evening classes because they're actually in their offices all day long. But the core classes, for example, at the moment, if you think about those that are being offered in the fall, one of which is mine, one of which is Professor Soilman's, one of which is Professor Gerber's. Those are actually all taught, between the 9 to 5 in a sense. And hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, please ask more. Ryan, is there a complete online course option for working professionals? Again, I think that relates to this first question. Yes, in the sense that at the moment, most of the courses will be online, though there are a few that are hybrid. And the hybrid courses are mostly hybrid to help international students meet some of their visa requirements for being in a classroom. But the course schedule is fairly fixed in the sense that there will be times during a normal working professional's day where they would have to attend a class, as opposed to being in their job 9 to 5. One thing would be, did I answer the questions appropriately? Did it make sense to do both? Yeah, okay, great. Thanks, Ryan. There's a new question. Thanks, John. So, Yu Chen, how's the job perspective comparing to construction and management? Honestly, we can't answer that with data because this is, sorry for the background noise, this is actually the first cohort, all right? So if you were to go look at the job history or the job placement history for the MCM program, they have 20 plus years. So if you were to compare like for like, it would be 0 to infinity, right? However, our program is designed and structured so that its graduates could end up working for the traditional general contractors, the innovative contractors, the innovators in contracting. One might think of modular construction businesses or Kateras or things like that, as well as the Skanskas and the Huckdeefs and the Turners. But as well, they could end up working for the design side, and design including engineering of many disciplines, or the sub side, or again, tech firms, or even real estate owners and operators. That's the way we've designed the course. In terms of being able to commit to what is the outlook, we do have some macroeconomic conditions which are concerning. It's maybe a good time to be in school. So that when you're coming out of the recession, which may happen this coming year, you'll be prime candidates for getting the jobs that will actually come back online. But again, we haven't seen that recession hit yet. you can let me know if I answered the question adequately. Alexis, I'm going to read your question. I'm really interested in applying for this fall, but I have not taken the GRE yet. Would you consider waiving it, or is it better for me to wait? I don't think we're allowed to waive the GRE requirement, but I will let Kevin or Jessica answer that if I have answered it incorrectly.
Nope, that is correct. We can't waive the GRE requirement, but what you can do, I'll send you my email and we can discuss, your application and figure out when is going to be the most appropriate time for you to take the GRE or what some of your options are. So I'll go ahead and send that to you now.
I will say the GRE is only one piece of our application process, but we do take it seriously and it is important. But it isn't the only thing that you need to, I guess, worry about so much. Okay, I've got more messages here. Okay. Oh, let me see. It was Kevin and Alexis. Thank you. Yes. I am happy to answer any and all questions here. I can also keep them anonymous if you'd like. And would love to see some of you apply and challenge us and let us challenge you back. All right.
Just checking, are there any other questions that you guys may have?
Yes, great question, actually. I'm glad you asked. Thank you. Can you talk more about how sustainability could be integrated into the program? So a little bit from a personal point of view, and then from a program director point of view, and then a departmental point of view. From a personal point of view, I'm heavily involved in sustainability at the university level, at the research level, as well as at the industry level. I think it's a massive opportunity as well as a massive obligation for us to produce professionals that can meet the challenges that we're facing in the built environment. From a departmental level, this is a civil engineering and environmental engineering department with some very serious researchers, some very deep expertise that you can tap into from an electives perspective and perhaps even from research and project opportunities perspective. From a university level, our new president is actually very much on board with trying to get USC to become an even more sustainable campus and sustainable business. So there's all of the trends moving towards integrating further sustainability at every single level. In terms of integrating it specifically into the program, you will find it as part of the curriculum of a number of the required courses already, as well as if we ever get to the point of advising particular students, we will be strongly advising the sustainability course offerings because it is actually a tenet, sort of one of the key pillars that I'm trying to integrate into the curriculum. It's not listed yet as a core requirement because we want to be careful to give people enough elective units. However, it will be strongly encouraged. I hope I answered your question. You're welcome. It's a great question. And it's something we should all be looking to become experts in. One thing I want to say, actually, while some of you may formulate a question is, when I designed this program with consultation with the other faculty members, there's something that I really deeply believe in for the future of all of those going into the built environment, and that is both depth and breadth. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to create T-shaped professionals. So if you go across the top of the T, that's the breadth So it's empathy building for all of these different pieces of the built environment puzzle, and depth is developing an expertise or set of expertises that is driven by the passion of the student. So some students will come in and really want to develop sustainability as their depth, and some will do that through data and technology, and some students may come in and want to develop geometry and design as their depth. And we will accommodate a variety of interests, because at the end of the day, we want to create people who actually go out and affect change in the built environment through their passion and their skills. Again, there are no bad questions, and this is your opportunity to ask anything, everything that you might be wondering about, from the day-to-day to the big picture. I'm happy to stay and answer. Okay. Kevin, back to you.
All right. If there are no more questions, we want to thank you all for joining us on today's webinar. Once again, you guys are going to get copies of these slides a little bit later, so you'll have all of the links to refer back to and do some more research. And yeah, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. And this is really great information. Thank Professor Gerber as well for providing more of an in-depth look at this exciting new program that we are eager to roll out and hope that you all apply to.
Yep. Thank you guys all for attending. I'm here to answer any other questions. You can send me emails. I will happily answer. I look forward to seeing some of you in the fall or at another time. And stay safe and healthy, everybody, and stay sane.
Yes.
All right. Kevin, am I signing off?
Yeah, you can sign off. We'll go ahead and end it.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Jessica, as well in the background.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, guys.